The Big 12 and the ACC are making a huge mistake with their thoughts on the future format of the college football playoff. So huge that they're forcing the Big 10 and the SEC into their dominating super conference ahead of schedule. They don't even see it coming. Paul Finebaum and Joel Klatt have some thoughts that prove this point. Of course, I have my thoughts that prove this point. Lockdown Big 10 starts right now.
You are Locked On Big Ten, your daily podcast on the Big Ten Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Big Ten. I'm Craig Sheeman. 40 years as a sports talk show host and play-by-play announcer. And I want to thank you for making us your first listen each and every day. Free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. Hit that free subscribe button down below while you're watching. Share, like, and follow so you don't miss a single episode. So this episode today is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet hits. So these conference wars continue. Very interesting. The recruiting trail is red hot. We'll get you updated with the latest in our power rankings. According to Sports Illustrated, Big Ten football coaches, big surprises on that list. But yesterday's podcast, the Locked On Big Ten, dealt with the growing rift between the Big Ten and the SEC and the rest of college football, namely the Big 12 and the ACC. After this year, the Big Ten and the SEC, who seem to be on the same page on most issues, will have all the power to decide the best way forward with college football, specifically the format of the college football playoffs and beyond, everything beyond the season. It remains to be seen if the SEC and the Big Ten are going to do what's best for them or all of college football. Everybody's talking about it. We're talking about it all week. Big Ten hater and ESPN talker Paul Finebaum is talking about it. He just said that if he were the Big 12 and the ACC, he would try to get out of these college football playoff discussions with the best possible deal without hurting themselves further. Like, don't upset anybody. Get what you can get and get out. Quit begging for more. Finebaum went on to suggest that those two conferences, the Big 12 and the ACC, have no leverage. And he's right. And in the long run, they'll probably get more than they actually deserve. So they should pipe down. It's hard to believe. Me and Finebaum are agreeing on stuff here. So what does all this mean? Well, again, we go back to yesterday's podcast, the Lockdown Big Ten. We compared the two playoff scenarios that are on the table right now under consideration. The first one seems to be endorsed by the Big Ten and the SEC, the 4-4-2-2-3-1 model, which would guarantee the Big Ten and the SEC 4 teams each in the proposed 16-team playoff in 2026 and beyond. Big 12 and the ACC think that that's unfair to their conferences. And it's unfair that the Big Ten and the SEC are going to get 4 every year, no matter what, whether the conference is good or not. Usually they're pretty good. And they're upset that their conferences, the Big 12 and the ACC, are only going to get 2 automatic bids to the playoffs. The Big 12 should be glad just to get at least 1. Get into that later. Those 2 conferences, the Big 12 and the ACC, would prefer the 5+11 model, which would see the 5 highest rated conference champions get bids plus 11 at-large teams. Now, this is where we said loud and clear in yesterday's podcast, and this is what Finebaum was getting at too. Big 12 and ACC, be careful what you wish for. You want 11 at-large bids? You think they're going to go to you? No. They're going to go to Big 10 and SEC schools. So under the 5+11 plan, we talked about it at length all week. We see scenarios where the Big 10 and the SEC will get 5 and 6 playoff teams with all these at-large bids available. It's possible year in and year out because the Big 10 and the SEC dominate the top 25 ratings every single year. And if they get that many teams in any given year, that means the Big 12 and or the ACC will get fewer teams. They could find themselves, well, they'll just get 1 team in. Suddenly, the Big 12 and the ACC teams guaranteed in the 4-4-2-2-3-1 format That doesn't look too bad anymore. Finebaum went on to say, frankly, if the Big 12 and the ACC, get 2 automatic qualifiers in the playoffs, that's probably more than they deserve. He went on to use SMU as an example last year on how the committee wanted to make sure that SMU had a fair opportunity when they ultimately proved they probably didn't even belong into the playoffs. Finebaum says it's not about that anymore. It's not proving who's going to be in anymore. It's all about the money and who's going to get the most in from the big Power 2 conferences. And again, wow, I'm realizing Finebaum and I are agreeing on stuff. It's starting to startle me, but I digress. Finebaum went on to say that the Big 12 and the ACC would be best served if they did not upset and tick off Commissioner Greg Sankey from the SEC like they did last week when they started preaching through the media that, hey, you need to do what's good for the good of the game. That got under Sankey's skin a little bit, a lot. He said he didn't need lectures from other people about the good of the game. Finebaum, and myself included, aren't the only ones to think that the Big 12 and the ACC are making a colossal mistake by pushing for this 5+11 format. Fox College football analyst Joel Klatt thinks that they're the Big 12. He said that they're bananas for doing so. Those are his words, bananas. He says the Big 12 will get crushed in a 5+11 format. He also says such a move will continue to coalesce power between the Power 2s, the Big Ten, and the SEC, which I interpret that as a step closer to becoming a super conference between the two. And they're going to get all the playoff spots. He, too, believes the 5+11 model will see the Big 12 and the ACC get just one team in the playoffs. In fact, Klatt went back over the past 2 seasons and pondered, what if we had the 5+11 format in place last year and the year before? He is absolutely convinced the Big 12 would have received only one team in the playoffs the last 2 years under this format. And that was with an expanded 16-team field, not the 12-team field. The ACC would have fared better under his scenarios with 3 teams. But if the ACC is getting 3 and the Big Ten and the SEC are getting all their teams in, don't forget about Notre Dame. There's 1 spot left for the Big 12. They should pipe down. So whether we're talking about the good of the game or the good of the Big Ten and the SEC, the Big Ten and the SEC, they're going to be good no matter what. They're going to be good to go no matter what. They're going to be good football teams, good conferences. They're going to make a lot of money no matter what. What about you? You think the 5+11? You think the 4-4-2-2 format, 3-1, the three at large, and 1 group of 5, or the straight seeding 1 through 16 that nobody's seeming really to talk about? What do you think? Hit me up on the comments. Love to hear from you on this. Also, be sure to hit that free subscribe button down below, and you'll never miss a single episode. Don't forget to share, follow, and like Locked On Big Ten. And while I have your attention, if you don't mind, check out our website, talkbig10.com. That's the number 10, talkbig10.com. We put all of our podcasts there, and also there are links at the bottom where you can buy your merchandise, shirts, T-shirts, and hats from your favorite Big Ten school. All the logos, all that cool stuff. Show your school pride. So check that out. Again, talkbig10.com. All right. Plenty of news on the recruiting trail. We're going to get to that. Michigan, Michigan State, USC. By the way, Illinois came really close to losing Luke Altmyer this spring to an SEC school. Yeah, a few more details on that have come out. Plus, we'll have some power rankings at the end, some surprises. All that's coming up here next on Locked On Big Ten, your team every day. NBA playoffs, we're down to the finals. Full swing, ready to go. Almost every night, a big lead is blown, shifts in momentum. Those are opportunities for you with FanDuel, whether it's a game-winning shot or a breakout player you want to focus on. FanDuel makes it easy to stay in the game, either before tip-off, you got all your ducks in a row, or maybe jump in live. You got a feeling during a game. With those player props, performance trends, same-game parlays, fans have more ways than ever to play smart and win big. What'd I tell you? Follow Tyrese Halliburton. Take the over on all his numbers, points and assists. And now with Oklahoma City, SGA, same thing. Be a winner. Put them all together in a parlay. That's right. Big same game parlay. 2 teams going at it. Take some of the players and the player props together. How about a $200 bonus and bets that can add to your excitement here if your first $5 bet hits? If you are new to FanDuel, it is the perfect time to sign up. Head to FanDuel.com and place your first $5 bet. And if it wins, you get $200 in bonus bets. That's awesome. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA. Thanks for making Locked On Big Ten your first listen each and every day, especially you everydayers out there. Meanwhile, be sure to hit that free subscribe button down below, please. And you can share, follow, and like Locked On Big Ten, your team every day. We're making a push to 20,000 subscribers. We're getting close. Thank you if you've already done that. Also, check out our website, talkbig10.com, with all of our podcasts and links for you to buy your favorite team's merchandise. All right, let's get back into this. All these recruiting stories, everything. A lot of good stories going on in the Big Ten. So, first of all, let's start off with one of the most interesting stories this offseason has had to be the Tennessee situation with quarterback Nico Iamaleava. And he bailed on the Volunteers ahead of their spring game because he wanted more money, name, image, and likeness. He eventually ended up at UCLA. Looks like he took less money to do so, but he's at UCLA. And then UCLA had quarterback Joey Aguilar, who had come in from App State, but he saw the writing on the wall, so he left, and he transferred to Tennessee. Like, it was almost a straight-up NFL trade, it seemed like. But Aguilar was not the Vols' first choice. According to ESPN, the Vols' first choice was Illinois starter Luke Altmyer. How about that? Altmyer decided to finish what he started at Illinois, coming off that 10-win season. And who knows? I think even Illinois probably had to come up with a little more scratch on the name, image, and likeness. Who knows? But remember, Altmyer started in the SEC. He was at Ole Miss before heading to Champaign. And Altmyer did admit that this was a pretty tough decision for him here this spring. I personally think that the consistency and the familiarity at a program that won 10 games last year, by the way, with a lot of players coming back, a lot of his teammates that he's in tight with, that overruled starting over somewhere else and having to prove yourself somewhere else. I think that's why he stayed at Illinois, and thank goodness he did. So we got a couple of good storylines this year in the Big Ten with experienced quarterbacks coming back. Altmyer, obviously, at Illinois, Drew Aller at Penn State. So I think those are some good storylines to watch this year in the Big Ten. I'm glad he came back. I'm glad for Brett Bielema that he came back, because Brett Bielema, it seems like Illinois is they're right there. And if they can duplicate what they did last year again this year, they'll be in consideration knocking on the door for one of those playoff spots. Yeah. So USC, let's talk about them for a moment. They continue to be red hot on the 2026 recruiting campaign. Still looking for more. Everybody's still talking about how they landed 5-star tight end Mark Bowman a few days ago. They are pursuing another 5-star corner, Brandon Arrington. Now, keep in mind, the Trojans are already pretty loaded with young defensive backs. But Arrington tweeted out, quote, "Don't sleep on Washington in my recruiting process." So, I mean, USC's got him circled. And he's saying, hey, I just had a nice little visit with Jed Fish to Washington. And Washington had a good week last week. They just announced a couple of recruits from Las Vegas. We mentioned that in yesterday's Locked On Big Ten podcast. But yeah, there was an official visit in Seattle this weekend with Arrington, and he's out of Mount Miguel, California. He's got 4 more visits lined up this month. It does include USC, so they're not out, but it also includes Texas A&M, Alabama, and Oregon. I've told you time and time again, Oregon and USC, they're going after the same guys. It is a grudge match out there on the recruiting trail. And we reported here on Locked On Big Ten that Arrington will make his official announcement of where he's going July 5th. And it seems like he's sticking with that date. So July 5th, which I believe is a Saturday, he's going to make his announcement then. So stay tuned for that. Michigan is making noise on the trail. They hosted 4-star wide receiver Zion Robinson among numerous players that they brought in this weekend. A lot of schools had their like group visitations, bringing in 12, 15 guys, trying to get them to bond a little bit and decide together, hey, we make great teammates someday. Robinson is a 6'4", 180-pound wideout from Mansfield, Texas. By the way, he could do a 6'8" high jump, and he would make an awesome target for Bryce Underwood down the road. He's also fast, runs a sub-11-second 100-meter dash. He just announced that he will make his commitment announcement. He's making announcements when they're going to make announcements. That's what we're doing now. At the end of July. And he reaffirmed to everybody, hey, I have not committed anywhere. I am still open. So keep showing me the love. Still going to make some visits at Stanford, TCU, and Miami. Now, Miami, that's always a wild card because that's always a fun visit for the kids. His dad, by the way, is a director of track and field at TCU. So there's the connection there. So they're all in play. But recruiting services are pegging for Texas A&M. So maybe he wants to be by his dad at TCU, but not go to TCU. So Texas A&M is attractive. But Michigan's in on the mix. We also have some new information on Michigan 4-star commit, tight end commit Matt Ludwig. He committed about a week and a half ago, as we reported here. And it's good news for Stroh Moore, and might even be better than people think, because Rivals just updated their 2026 recruiting rankings, and Ludwig came in as the 121st overall prospect for the class of 2026. Obviously, one of the top tight ends. He's this is an amazing 129 spot jump for the 6'4", 240-pound prospect. He was 220 on the list. Top 220 player in the country. Nothing wrong with that. But he jumped up to 121. That was when he committed to the Wolverines. He's out of Billings, Montana. I had the thought, did he bump up in the recruiting because Michigan went after him and got him? Here's a kid from Billings, Montana, ends up at Michigan. All of a sudden now his value goes up. You never know with these ranking things. Just spitballing here. Got some bad news for Michigan State on some legacy recruits. The Spartans missed out on 3-star linebacker Adam Shaw from New Jersey. He announced he's going to Rutgers, play for Greg Schiano. It's too bad for Michigan State. Again, he was a legacy recruit. His dad was former Michigan State offensive tackle Scott Shaw. He played for Michigan State when Nick Saban was the head coach back in the 90s. Was first-team All-American in 1997, drafted by the Dolphins in 98, ended up with the Bengals for a couple of games. But, yeah, missed out on the kid there. Spartans also lost out on another legacy prospect when 4-star running back Corey Amatri chose Kansas over Michigan State. Hey, as we discussed earlier this week, Michigan State has a new athletic director in Jay Batten. He comes from Georgia Tech. Had a pretty good track record there of fundraising, which is exactly what Michigan State is looking for in an athletic director. A lot of schools are going to be going in this direction. Apparently, Maryland was looking for the same thing when they were searching for their AD, and they reached out to Bat, but he declined the interview. Now, the Terps ended up hiring former Atlanta Braves executive Jim Smith in mid-May. The Terps, of course, made news when basketball coach Kevin Willard left Villanova right after taking his team to the Sweet 16. He said, I don't want to renew here. We don't have an athletic director at the time. Our name, image, and likeness is no good. Criticized the school's athletic department. Certainly Jim Smith has a lot of work to do. And right before we came on and prepared this podcast, I saw that we know that Santo Ono left Michigan as the president because he was going to go take the Florida job. I guess the board, all of a sudden, some higher-ups vetoed the move, like in a 6-4 vote. I'm going to look into that, see if there's anything interesting we're talking about here on Lockdown Big Ten on tomorrow's podcast. But, yeah, kind of a shocker. Leaves a job, and then where you're going, all of a sudden decides we don't want you. Too much controversy. Usually you get those things ironed out ahead of time. That's just me. There was no bigger supporter of Jim Harbaugh during all of his troubles and suspensions than Santa Ono, the school president of Michigan at the time. Speaking of football coaches, it's Wednesday. We're going to power rank stuff, right? That's what we do. We're going to power rank Big Ten football coaches, but it's not our list. It's according to Sports Illustrated, so it's a little different than I would have it. In fact, we're going to scrutinize this list. There are some surprises here. So we got all that coming up in 1 minute right here on Locked On Big Ten. Back on Locked On Big Ten. Thanks for joining us and staying with us here today. We always do a feature at the end of our podcast. Mondays, we always do our top 10 Big Ten observations. Tuesdays, we do Tuesday tweets. Wednesdays, we power rank stuff. Thursdays, tomorrow, we'll look ahead at the Big Ten Network schedule this weekend. We'll highlight some Big Ten classics and live action for you to watch this weekend. And then Friday, we do picks, point spreads, futures, all that kind of stuff. So back to the power rankings. Let's put it now. Again, no haters out there. This is not my list. This is Sports Illustrated's list, but I thought it was worthy putting up, and we'll discuss. And what they do, they got the list 1 through 18. And we also list where Sports Illustrated had these coaches ranked last year at this time. There has been some movement, which I think is worthy of some conversation. So let's put it on the screen. We'll put the first 10 on the screen. If you are audio only, we'll describe it in detail. At the top of the list, as you can imagine, Ohio State football coach Ryan Day, and he was number 1 last year, by the way, before he won the national championship. But now they won the national championship. You got to put him at number 1. Oregon's Dan Lanning comes in at number 2. Of course, undefeated in the Big Ten last year, Big Ten champions. He was number 2 last year. What Ryan Day 1, Dan Lanning 2, go prove yourself. Well, Lanning did, went undefeated, won the Big Ten championship, but then Ryan Day leapfrogged him by winning the national championship. Anyway, a lot of winning going on between those two. Even though Dan Lanning and Oregon did beat Ohio State there in the regular season. At number 3, Penn State's James Franklin. By the way, he was number 5 last year. Number 5 says, you're good and you could be, you have the potential to be better, but let's prove it before we put you in that upper tier. And that's where James Franklin was. Now, James Franklin, they got to the Big Ten championship game. They did lose it to Oregon, but they got to the playoffs. And they won a playoff game. So he's moving up. He's number 3. Still last year, didn't beat Ohio State, didn't beat Oregon, but again, got to the playoff. At number 4, I like this. Kirk Ferentz at Iowa was 4 last year. He's 4 this year. Yeah, he doesn't get into that upper tier and, win national championships, but been there over a quarter of a century, very consistent. You know what you're going to get. Kirk Ferentz is a very good football coach. 204 career wins says so at Iowa. 204 wins at Iowa. 1 away from Woody Hayes' Big Ten mark, by the way. At number 5, what did I just say about James Franklin's ranking at number 5 last year? You're good. Everybody respects you're good. You got to prove it to get higher and get in that upper echelon. That's where Lincoln Riley is right now. He's at number 5, and he fell. He was given the benefit of the doubt last year in the top 3. But the last 2 years, he's won 8 games and 7 games. He's trending downward. But the class of 2026 recruiting is incredible. But we're not going to see them. They're not going to be effective on the football field till, 27, 28. But anyway, Lincoln Riley coming at number 5. Again, this is the Sports Illustrated list. At number 6, Curt Cignetti. Look where Curt Cignetti was last year on their list. New coach of the Big Ten, coming from James Madison. They had him at 16. 16 out of 18. Yep. Woe was me, Indiana, right? 700 career losses with the program. They're not going to do anything. He shows up, they get 11 wins and go to the college football playoffs. And now people go, oh, let's expect more of this. Curt Cignetti at number 6. Right behind him at number 7, Bret Bielema. Look how far he jumped from last year. 14. You go win 10 games, now you're top 7. So Curt Cignetti and Bret Bielema getting a lot of love. And Illinois got a lot of players back. We were just talking about Luke Altmyer in the previous segment. So, and look, I think Illinois could be a serious playoff contender this year. At number 8, Michigan, Sharon Moore. That's where he was last year, 8. And he won 8 games, right? With the bowl game, with no quarterback. Very good. By the way, we're going to talk about Sharon Moore in Michigan later on in the week. I don't know if you're aware of this. June 6th and 7th is when the NCAA hearing is for Spygate. And then within 45 days, we'll know if the NCAA thinks that the 2-game self-imposed suspension for Sharon Moore is enough or not. More on them later. PJ Fleck coming in at number 9, dropped down a couple spots. He was 7 last year. Look, PJ Fleck, he's won 9 games twice at Minnesota, 8 wins last year, always competitive. The question is, can Minnesota jump and get in that upper echelon? Rounding out the top 10, Matt Rule. He was 9 last year. He falls to 10. I will say this. Look, they got bowl eligible, got to a bowl, won 6 games, 5 wins the year before, 6 this. Dylan Raiola going into year 2. I think if Matt Rule's going to make a move in a poll like this, it's this year. They got some things stacking in the right direction there at Lincoln. All right. That's the top 10. Again, this is according to Sports Illustrated and their power rankings of Big Ten football coaches. Let's look at the best of the rest, the other 8. Here we go. Michigan State, Jonathan Smith at number 11. He was 10 last year, so about the same. He goes as far as Aiden Childs goes. Year 2 of this program. A lot of people expecting some big improvement. Others think maybe next year is the year to circle for Michigan State to make a big jump. Maybe. Let's see here. They got Rutgers, Greg Schiano at number 12. He was 11 last year. 2 years in a row, he's won 7 games. Look, you win 7 games at Rutgers, you're doing a good job. Greg Schiano was built for Rutgers. This is a perfect match. He should be the coach there the rest of his career. Every once in a while, he'll probably spike up there with a really, really, really good team. He does a good job there. After him, Wisconsin, 13, Luke Fickell. Look how much he dropped. He was 6. Look, Luke Fickell came in with his resume, with what he did at Cincinnati, and everybody's all excited, his ties to Ohio State, and he came into Wisconsin, and they have struggled for 2 years. They have not gotten quarterback right. The honeymoon is over. Now, here's the problem with Wisconsin this year, probably the reason for their drop. Even if they are better this year, their record, their win total is probably not going to go in the right direction. They have a brutal schedule. Clearly, the toughest schedule of the Big Ten. They take on 7 ranked teams this year. And that's why they gave Luke Fickell a contract extension here in the offseason, so they have to mess with any rumors or hot seat stuff because they like them. And probably not going to see a lot of forward progress this year. Jed Fish at Washington coming in at number 14. I think he is very underrated. He was 13th last year, 14th this year. I thought he did a tremendous job taking over a Washington team, which had lost 20 of 22 starters for the national championship runner-up team. I thought they were very steady in 2024. Jamal Williams Jr., their quarterback, is going to be the guy, to I think the surprise guy this year in the Big Ten. He's going to carry Washington with him. At 15, Maryland, Mike Locksley. He was 12th last year. You know, he had a couple of 8-win seasons with Talia Tagovailoa as his quarterback, but last year they dropped down, 4 wins? Got some work to do. Purdue's Barry Odom. He is the lone new coach. He wasn't ranked last year. He's at 16 this year. He's a new coach here in the Big Ten. Was at Missouri, but then had some success at UNLV. 9 and 10 win seasons, and Purdue says, we like that. Come over here to West Lafayette. Northwestern, David Braun at 17th. He was 15th last year, which is disrespectful because in 2023 took over a mess from Pat Fitzgerald and won 8 games in a bowl game in Northwestern, and he was the coach of the year in the Big Ten. How is the coach of the year in the Big Ten last year ranked 17th? Explain that to me. And then they put the Sports Illustrated now. They put Deshaun Foster, UCLA, last. And they had him last year. 18 last year, 18 this year. 5 wins. Look, Nico Iamaleava at quarterback. Let's see what he can do and maybe get this program rolling in the right direction. Interesting game, season opener against Utah, I think will tell you a lot. So there we have it. What do you think about those rankings? Again, they're Sports Illustrated, so don't be haters on me. But I give you my thoughts on each and every one, as I always do, because we give you news, analysis, and opinion here on Locked On Big Ten. That's what we do. Just give you all of our opinions on that. All right. Couple things to tell you about. Always invite you to go check out a previous podcast if you missed it. We always like you to go back for a second listen. If you could, hit that subscribe button. It's free down below. That way you'll never miss another episode. Always appreciate that. Share, follow, like, and word of mouth. I know you, if you're a Big Ten fan, you got to know other Big Ten people. Let them know we're out here every single day. Video and audio, news, analysis, and opinion, all Big Ten right here. Also invite you to check out a second listen with our friend Brian Smith from the Portal Show. Get caught up with everything going on in the transfer portal. It is hard to keep track of all that stuff, but that's what he does. So check that out, the Portal on YouTube, wherever you get your podcast. That'll do it for us. Thank you so much for your time. I can't wait to talk again tomorrow. Again, we'll have our Big Ten Classics and live action. Before the week is up, we're going to look into the Michigan situation with the NCAA hearing that is scheduled for a couple days from now. So we always got our eyes and ears open for all kinds of news like that. And thanks for checking us out. We'll talk to you tomorrow for Locked On Big Ten. I'm Craig Sheeman. See you next time.